Welcome once again to the Writer Brothers podcast, the show where we discuss general interest entertainment, video games, TV shows, movies, and sometimes books. But don't worry, we're not doing a book this week, maybe next week. I'm joined once again by Carry On, Witch in Residence, and of course, my co-host slash co-producer, that guy.
Hello.
Anyway, gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Excellent.
Phenomenal.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about the latest and greatest in Apple TV's new show, Severance. After that, we're going to do a quick little overview of the Star Wars Starcruiser, as well as the overall state of Star Wars. And finally, we're going to take a quick look at Elden Ring and talk about that. So, gentlemen, John, why don't we start with you this week? What were your thoughts on this week's episode of Severance?
My thoughts were wild. I cannot believe how much it changed in just one episode from the 2-episode release. I really did not expect them to do this much exposition / world building in this next episode, but then to simultaneously give us almost nothing. Like, we see where they are, we see why the work life works, and we hear rumors of these little, I think at one point they said that there was an uprising between the different jobs, like the janitorial staff versus these microdot processors. And oh man, I was blown away. Before we get into it, I'll let you guys give your thoughts first.
Well, this is a series that keeps you guessing the entire time, and this was definitely an episode that ratcheted that up pretty quick. I was left going, oh, well, wait a minute, what about, and just these moments of, they put together some things, but it really just opened up more questions, and I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, not a whole lot moving plot-wise except a couple of moments, but overall I think it was just establishing the world building. And to get into it a little bit, we noticed that Patricia Arquette's character appears to be aware of the fact that she is severed, or maybe she's not severed. I think, and this is my theory, I think she's permanently been severed. I think that was part of the agreement to the promotion, was that she was going to forever be working for the company, and I don't know, some kind of agreement came up with the innie outie where she's going to be a permanent outie now, or a permanent innie now, or something. Also, Helly got sent to the break room, which I think we all knew was probably coming. And so we'll see if my theory is correct, that she's just going to embrace the work life and slowly start to turn into the rest of her coworkers, or if she's going to be a constant resistor. Who knows? So yeah, I think the show does a lot of it brings up a lot of questions, and it does feed just enough answers each week that it keeps me coming back. But the entire ride, as boring as it comes off, is still just very, like, I still don't know what's going on in it right now, and I'm 3 episodes in, and I love it. So,
honestly, I'm getting really like, it's the ultimate messed up version of The Office. Like, how dark can you make The Office while simultaneously filming drones, doing drone work? And like, I feel like it's amazing. As far as like what you brought up with Helly going into the break room, like there's a lot of, I don't know what, hypnosis going on. You know, she's staring at a screen, but then they're making eye contact, but then they're saying, I don't believe you. And she's like, yeah, I don't believe me either. So like, they're literally telling her to make feelings about her statement so that she can leave, but also like not giving her any explanation as to like what she did wrong. She's just like, I'm aware of the things that I did. And it's like, no, you're not. I'm not aware. But then they're like like they're literally giving her the feelings. And I think that's what plays such an important role in this whole, like, how did the drones stay drones despite constantly losing the majority of their day? And one more thing to add, sorry, I just thought of this, but to add to your point about the boss, I have the IMDb pulled up and I still forgot her name.
It's,
is it Miss Casey?
No.
Patricia Arquette. Patricia Arquette.
Patricia
Harmony.
Arquette, who plays Harmony Cobil.
Yes, so Harmony, what if she is permanently severed, but like that's kind of where Irv is going. Like Irv, the reason he wasn't picked now is because like he's not ready to be severed, but like maybe another year or by the end of the season, he'll be selected to fully give up the Audi personality so that he can run the Audi's lives. Like very clearly, Harmony is playing a major role in guiding Mark and watching him, even his Audi life. So I wonder if like that's like the next promotion is like some become the department head, which is like a internal easy promotion that like everybody kind of fights for, but then some get moved all the way out to be like Harmony.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was starting to suspect as well, was that that's how you move up in the company. Is it's either they're not severed and they know what's going on, or that's how they condition and train you. And when I was in the military, we had an expression called drinking the Kool-Aid, which is very common to just about anything. And Irv, like, he must pound 3 gallons of Kool-Aid a day, because he doesn't even want to let them have their little bingo game, which might actually be helpful to get more people on board to liking the past of liking the founders, so to speak. And whereas Irv, it's like it's the greatest moment of his life to be able to go to that room, whereas everyone else is just like, yeah, we're not having to do our normal boring work routine. It's a great chance to go walk around. So they're really playing on a lot of the office tropes where you have the guy who loves working. That's all he cares about. You have what's his name? You have Zach Cherry playing Dylan, who doesn't really love working, but he loves his prizes. So the incentives work to keep him happy. And he just has his theories, but he's clearly one of those types. And of course, you have Adam Scott's character, Mark, who we have no clue what his motives are, really. He seems to be just as lost as the rest of us at times, but he comes off as like he knows what he's doing. However, it's like he could go either way. And then, of course, we have the office rebel, Helly, who's, well, we'll see if she's rebelling next week or if the break room has successfully broken her. Carry on, please. Share more thoughts.
Yeah, one of the pieces that really surprised me in the episode is we got a general idea of just how old the company could be. Now, again, anything that they give us in terms of information from the company, I treat as suspect, right? I completely treat as suspect. I feel like they could be lying to any one of the characters at any time. So lying to us by extension, is entirely possible. But the fact that they've put this thought in that the company is way older than I would have assumed watching the show is fascinating, right? Because now it makes you wonder, how long have people been severed, right? And how long have they been doing these practices for? All right.
Exactly. And
that's wild thought.
Exactly. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Oh, no. I was just commenting on that comment. You go ahead.
Yeah, it's the implications of that episode. I mean, they ask so many more questions in just that sequence where they're going through this is where, these rich people lived, and it was, look how great they were, and they've just done so much good for the world. And it's like, and then the creepy Hall of Smiles, that one, I saw that and I was like, this is not what we think it is. This is probably something that's even more worse than what we suspect, or maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, it is so hard to tell what the smiles mean. My first thought was exactly Helly's. Like, I was watching it in the background the first time I watched it, but I watched it again today, and I saw the Hall of Smiles, and then that's when I actually heard her comment, "What are we, a bunch of dentists?" And like, for me, mixing in your point, Corian, about the age of the company, the age of the process, and then the amount of like secrecy to the data, because like, you don't put in this effort unless you really think the data you're hiding needs to be hidden, whether it's for nefarious or profiteering reasons. You know, like, are they hiding contracts, are they hiding deals, hiding potential negotiations, or are they hiding like bombs and sleeper agents and stuff like that? Like, we don't know. All we know is that they're hiding it. It could be that they're Colgate.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, though. I still contest that we're going to find out that all the horrible stuff they do is for some sort of really amazing reason. Like, this is literally a world-saving reason why they're doing it. Because...
so like an actually honorable CIA, but they need to go to these lengths?
I was thinking more like something along the lines of the information needs to be processed to solve some to prevent some sort of global catastrophe, but the information itself would cause a regular human being to, like, go insane or, have some sort of mental breakdown from it. So that's why they have to do this.
Oh, what if they're like hacking the Akashic record? And they can't
like
actually see it or touch it, but that's like, they figured out a way to match the feelings to the symbols, and so they're hacking it. While they think they're like data mining and like hiding it, in reality they're giving it more condensed to other readers who then flip it into other. That's a wild thought.
Yeah, or like, let's say, for example, like, this is pie in the sky, completely hypothetical. Although if I get this right, I want full credit. But what I was thinking is, like, say, for example, there's something wrong with the planet and the planet is going to die. Okay. And they are going through the entirety of humanity looking for the people that would be the right people to survive this. Now, knowing that you were picking the people that would survive this catastrophe would be really hard for you to do if you knew that was what you were doing.
Whoa.
Right? So
that's
we're not
a huge thought.
Right? Now, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but I'm saying it could be something along those lines where it's like, this is such a necessary task, right? But it's, but to do it would just be completely soul-breaking, which is why they have to do this, why they have to separate your innie and your outie.
Well, you could just add it to, like, what if they're not saving the world's problem? What if they're saving America's problems doing that? Like, they're predicting who wins and who dies based off of the information they're collecting. And that all plays into it, like you just said. Like, you just can't handle that conundrum or that, like, that much control over others. So why not just tell you have no control over anything? But in reality, you are literally... Oh, dude, that's like them being the Mjolnir from Nordic legends. Like, they're the ones literally weaving the code of the universe, and so they can't handle that responsibility, so they don't even know they have that responsibility. So then they're also told, you guys have no control. We're taking all control away from you, as you literally write the song of the universe.
That's the idea. That's
wild.
That's what I've been theorizing.
That's a
is going
crazy
on.
Concept. Yeah, that is quite an impressive theory there, Carry On, I must say. And I think I definitely feel like the resolution to this show, whether it happens in this season or probably more likely the second season, or however they end up resolving or explaining what's really going on, I do think it's going to be one of those very moral gray areas, as you suggest. And I also think that the show is also still it's still just so much more too, because it's also speaking a lot of social commentary to the corporate world, and also to the idea of ourselves of having split personalities. And like, I think that there's a lot of commentary that they can go with, where Mark is still struggling with alcohol because of his deceased wife, and it's almost like they're playing the Severance element into doing some commentary on that. And again, as John said, it's like a messed up version of The Office. Well, that's also kind of how it's like in real life. We go in, we have our work personality, and then we go home and we have our home personality. And I've always, me especially, and even in the military, this was a hard one for me to deal with. That's why I drank and smoked like a sailor. And that, it was because I hated doing that. I hate being somebody else than I am with other people. And I feel it's disingenuous. I feel it's like, no, you need to be you all the time. I mean, not like, I'm going to swear in front of people at work. There is a certain amount of work etiquette that I agree with, absolutely, but not to the point where, one day I'm, let's say at home, I'm the big tough guy jock, no one tells me what to do, and then I go to work and I'm a kiss ass. No, that's just not going to happen. So I really like how the show does and again, this goes back to what I said in the first episode. Sci-fi has this beautiful way of, or no, it's the second episode. Sci-fi has this beautiful way of taking concepts and exaggerations, and yet taking those exaggerations while also still simultaneously speaking truth to reality. And that's what I really love about the show. Yes, that is a cool theory that I think will also play into all this social commentary that's going on right now. I also like that the show isn't just trying to keep you hooked with a concept and with constant cliffhangers. It's actually got there are a lot of implications to explore with the Severance program. And like, we could literally do our whole 2-hour podcast on each episode. That's how much in depth we could really go with this. But at the same time, I still like leaving an aura of mystery. On the one hand, I'll be impressed with your theory, but on the other hand, once I start watching it go through, I'll be like, spoilers.
Well, I mean, again, my theory depends upon, what the actual work is about, right? And
yeah.
I think when we're gonna find that out at near the peak of the story arc, if we find out about it at all, right? It's entirely possible they never explain what the significance of the work they're doing is. The story could take some sort of twist down a different road, but headcanon, that's where I'm taking it right now until I'm proven different, because it adds this neat moral gray attitude. And to your point, look, sci-fi does its best when it's like an old mythology morality tale, right? It's teaching it's using an overdone metaphor to explain real life, quandaries. And yeah, look, when I'm at work, when I do my day job, I appear like a clean living family man. I'm the calm radio voice IT guy that's like, oh, well, I understand. Oh, your email's all screwed up. Well, let's see what we can do to resolve that for you. Like, I sound like I'm just as likely to fix your computer as bake you a batch of cookies, right? And then I come here, right? And it's not because I'm trying to have a separate persona per se. That's what the job requires me to do, is to have that calm, relaxed, Mr. Rogers kind of feel to me to get people on my side so I can do my job. But it winds up becoming this kind of alternate persona, right? In fact, it's rather kind of funny, because there have been times where, say, somebody who knows me at work and knows me at home will come to me with, very upset about something, and I'll start using like that IT calm, relaxed voice and taking them through like threat de-escalation. They'll just look at me and be like, don't work voice me, like don't de-escalate me. I want to be mad at you, right? So we're seeing the extreme of that, right? we're seeing the extreme of, is it worth it, and what are the benefits of this? And that's what this show is doing fantastically.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and I think there's nothing wrong with having that calm, relaxed attitude. So
yeah, I mean,
lots to take care of.
Yeah, I mean, you're
with having that. Huh?
Well, you were in the Army. You know, first lieutenants are always slouching and taking it easy and looking like they're too cool for the rest of the troop, right?
Oh, I saw just the change where it's like, the ones that bother me, and I didn't have too much interaction with this type directly, but I did see it and I witnessed it in the different departments where, the supervisor's getting reprimanded by either the commanding officer or typically the executive officer. And they're, it's like, yes, sir, okay, sir, I'll take care of it, sir. I'll just, and then they come back to the department, you dumb idiots are in so much trouble. And it's like, yeah, I just saw what you were doing there. Like, I know you're not actually this tough. And this is it. You don't need that in any work environment. You can treat people with the same amount of dignity and respect, and you can treat basically anyone as pretty much an equal to an extent. Yes, you need an established chain of command, because there comes a time when you basically have to use that command override to say, nope, these are your orders, go do them. Certain circumstances require it. I've been on missions that are like, we're chasing down a drug boat. This isn't the time to be having a mental breakdown, okay? This is the time to work. We can save the mental breakdown for afterwards. That's one thing. So for me, it's more about having that balance between work personality and home personality that doesn't diverge too much. That you're able to, yes, your friend felt like you were using your work voice, but honestly, from the interaction I've had with you, you also seem like that's how you just kind of want to be in real life too, because it's easier to get along with people when you're calm and relaxed versus having split personality. So, yes, there is a certain amount of work personality you can't get away from. I'm not saying that you have to be 100% who you are at home at work. That's impossible unless you're doing independent content creation. But even then, we still have to put on a presentation as well. We want to come off as, yeah, you should listen to us because we're not going to call you stupid. We got to respect our audience. So there is a certain amount of give and take. But what Severance is pointing out is, you're right. It's pointing out the extreme of too much give and take, too much extreme from one side to the other. And that's what happens. People see through that. When they see the divergence of personality to that extreme, they're like, I don't even know who you are. Who do I trust? Is the real you the work you, or is the real you the home you, or is the real you the party you? So
or is there even a real you?
Is there even a real you? All right, perspective writer comment in the chat from our friends at Super Gamecraft. Check them out. Always call the audience stupid. We do it. Seems to work well. That might work for a soft R production, and I don't disagree with the method for those that works. It's just we're trying to be a little more, I don't know.
Personally, I'm just tired of assuming the audience's intelligence, and I'm just going to talk the way I normally talk.
Exactly.
And the way I normally talk is obviously personalized and obviously individual, but at the same time, I've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of different audiences for a plethora of different reasons. So I feel like if you like the way I talk, you're going to stay here. So whether you're stupid or not is irrelevant. I'm going to talk this way, and I'm always going to talk this way. So you can always come here for consistent me.
Exactly.
We're
here 2 hours every Thursday for a reason. Oh, sorry, carry on.
Oh, I was going to say, I agree entirely. Again, being a witch, being a priest, I do a lot of ritual stuff throughout the year. And there's a general rule for witches that we always try to write a ritual when we're writing it for the most experienced person that's going to be at the ritual. Because if we're writing it for the most experienced person will get something out of it. And the people who are not as experienced will get to see what they're working towards.
That's
and so
awesome.
They will be inspired.
That's a
Right.
really awesome way of thinking about it and saying it. I mean, that makes way more sense. Why not? If you show everybody the lowest level so everybody can join, you never go past the lowest level.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just how we operate, right? We write what we're doing under the assumption that the person with the most experience in the room is going to get something out of it, and if we do that, then still the youngest people in the room are still going to get something out of it. They're going to get to see what they can be, right? And that's a wonderful thing, I think.
Well, it gives more reason to stay.
Yeah.
I may not be good today, but I could be that good tomorrow, and that is the whole reason. Like, I mean, that's part of what this show is showing us that we don't do. Like, these people are giving up the chance to get any kind of satisfaction out of joys from promotion. Like, they're going to work and they might get a gift card if they wake up with a bandage.
Yeah.
They don't know what work they did. So when they go to their friend's house and their friends are all talking about the books they wrote and the movies they saw and the things they did and contributed to society day in and day out, they're like, yeah, I went to work and I got off work.
Yeah, it actually
and I
reminds
meant to say
me.
this. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say it actually reminds me of when I was working for a company that was dealing with pretty classified information. When I got home and somebody would ask me about my day, I would have to respond with, "My day was fine." I wasn't allowed to say what actually happened. I wasn't allowed to talk about anything that could have happened at work. I just had to give this very neutral, my day was fine. It's ultimately why I left the job, because I couldn't handle that level of separation between my two worlds.
Yeah, no, the secrecy for me was really starting to get to me as well, and that was one of the reasons that I ultimately changed jobs. And one, not really the reason, but definitely one of the contributing factors. And so, yeah, that's why I don't like to be that way. I try to be as straightforward as I can. I try not to diverge too much. I mean, there's time and place. So I wonder when we'll get to that part. But I wanted to say the thought that came to mind with the first episode when he had his head injury was, I found it interesting that they blatantly lied. And I found that interesting because I would think with an operation like this, you'd want to try and play it closer to the truth, which, maybe it would be too much of a ramification but like maybe instead on the note, what they could have written was, you were conducting an orientation for a new employee and, things didn't work out. We fired that employee. They didn't. But that's like an explanation that's more believable, or that plays it closer to what actually happened versus, oh, you hit your head on something. Here's a gift card. Because now all that does is create more suspicion.
Well, yeah, because you wonder if you got beat at the office and they just said it was an accident.
Yeah.
Right. I'm curious to see what Helly's explanation for her arm injury is going to be, because that's a little more than that's something that takes a little more than a couple days to heal from.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good point.
All right. Well, now for my favorite part of this segment. Any other predictions in the immediate future? I know we touched kind of on what the future resolution is, but what do we think is going to happen soon?
Corin, I'm going to let you go because you definitely got it closest to the head the first time.
Well, thank you for that. I think we're going to find out that the smiles there, I think we're going to find out that every one of the people in those smiles is probably dead, that something about the reintegration process or whatever messed with their brain chemistry or messed with their head in some fashion, that it plastered that smile on them as they died. And that's the picture they took. And the reason why you don't see the rest of the face is because it's really grotesque after that.
Pretty much my thoughts exactly. John, go ahead.
I wonder what's going to become of Petey. And I also wonder what the map means. I don't know if you guys caught that at the end of the very end of the episode. He's changing out the pictures, and there's a map of the building, and one of the parts is circled mind. And the directors, whenever they appear, they're quiet. Yeah, that's another part. He kept it. Why did he keep it? So, I'm not sure. I don't know what's going to happen next. I wonder if the next episode is going to be another throw around. Like, they gave us a little exposition, just enough to tease to get us to come for sure to the next episode, and then they might distract us for one. It's really hard to tell. But I'm excited. I wonder if there's going to be an uprising. I wonder how extreme the first one was, or the last one was, to like segregate the departments so aggressively. But yeah, I don't know. This one seems like there's a lot that could happen.
Yeah, I do think we do have a perspective writer comment in the chat. There's spoilers in this video. I suppose. I mean, this is the official trailer that we're just cycling through. It's definitely showing us stuff we haven't seen yet. But, I mean, there's plenty of other theories and implications we can draw from.
And not to mention, we're discussing last week's episode before next week's airs.
Before tonight.
Yeah, tonight's airs.
Yeah, no, that's what I like about this. We do a little overview, recap of episode 3, and we put in our predictions that we get to watch in 4 hours. So, yeah, I think that episode 4 is probably going to... got a couple of bots to snipe in the chat. And I do think that what we're going to see... Oh, no, wait, I already sniped those bots. Never mind. It just popped them back up again. I think we're going to see a lot more... It's just going to be probably more world building, but there'll probably be something that'll happen that'll explain a bit more of what probably this company's doing, what's going on. At the same time, I could also see it go in a different direction where we're going to see more of just Mark's life on the outside. And, oh, the other thing that I totally forgot to bring up. This is what I found really fascinating, was that apparently it is not even allowed to suggest that reintegration is possible. I found this fascinating, that why would the board hammer that fact so hard? You know? Like, why is it so important to them that no, integration is impossible? Like, it lends more plausibility that they're permanently severed now. You know what I mean? Like, what's the secret that's being hidden there? What's the secret that's being kept to basically get to the point where, oh no, there's no such thing as reintegration. It's impossible. You can't do it. It's just not. That's what they seem to not only claim that, but it's fascinating that it's like they believe it so much that the board members are intent on keeping it that way. You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know. I'm interested to see more, of course. That's why we're here talking about it, is because this is a very well done psychological thriller. And so yeah, I think predictions for episode 4 are going to be that it's either going to be more of what we saw last week, or it's going to focus probably more on Mark, or maybe somebody else. It might give us Irving's Audi. We might meet somebody else's Audi for once instead of just following Mark's, which I would like to see.
I also think not this episode, but the next episode, like not this episode tonight, but the one after it, we're going to get some real answers, because we're going to have to, if we're going to, they're going to have to answer some of the questions at that point in the series. Like just from like a writing arc, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think we could maybe get away with one more episode of world building, backstory, exposition, but yeah, you're right. Next week we'll probably expect some thrilling action in the form of, passive aggressive office nonsense. So, yeah, no, I think this show is great, and I am looking forward to seeing tonight's episode and next week's episode, and continuing to track and keep track of theories. But I think we'll just have to wait and see at this point.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we've definitely discussed this one out. So we'll go ahead and transition to our next segment.
For the first time, it's real. We've traveled to the far reaches of the galaxy. We got recruited by the Resistance. And now, we're ready.
Come on, Dad. We gotta go save the ship.
No. We're gonna save the galaxy.
All right. We are now joined by our second guest, Meticulous, who has joined us on previous streams. We're going to discuss this thing.
Yeah, I definitely think it's safe to call it a thing.
A very solid concept.
Yeah.
Image.
I love it. It's Star Wars. I want to go on it.
Is it Star Wars? I thought it
Yeah.
was Star Trek. I
Did
can
you
never
not
tell
just
with
see the
just
trailer?
the spaceness. Joining the Resistance? Which one? ISIS?
Oh,
God.
Hey, it's the only modern Resistance in the world
stop,
today.
Stop. You're on quiet time. Matt, welcome to the Star Wars portion of this episode. What do you think of Starcruiser, buddy?
Delicious.
Are you excited? Are you excited to go to this ship that has never been seen before on screen? That's never had any cool actiony moment that
Never
of
sparked
any
emotional value?
I am elated even. I can't wait.
Strong praise.
I'm ready for the next great Star Wars adventure with people on that.
With my dad.
Yeah, so the Star Wars Starcruiser is officially live, and wow, is it something. Now, I do want to say that there are some good things that this attraction has going for it. It's got potential. I don't want it to fail. None of us here actually want it to fail. We'd like it to succeed. However, we'd like it to succeed on the right standards, and that would mean having Star Wars that people should be excited about. And unfortunately, that's not the case with this thing. Carry on. You seem very eager to discuss this in pre-launch, so why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts?
All right, so let's start with some of the basics. This Starcruiser event, storyline, what have you, is taking place between The Last Jedi and the Rise of Palpatine, the Rise of Skywalker. The general premise is that you're on a Starcruiser and the Resistance is potentially involved. It's effectively supposed to be a 2-day LARP in the most elaborate setting that money could buy. Unfortunately, if you know a lot of the history about the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Park, and you know any of the history about how a lot of the systems were designed for it, you'll notice that all of the cut content that was supposed to go into Galaxy's Edge is appearing here. So that's led a lot of people to believe, well, did they cut the content because they just couldn't get it launched in time for it? Or did they cut the content so they could put it behind a $6,000 paywall, which is effectively what this behaves like. I tend to believe that they might have cut a lot of it so that they could charge extra later. I feel that they did some very odd choices here, because in some ways, look, the idea of going on a galactic cruise on a spaceship sounds awesome. But anytime we've ever seen that displayed in science fiction, we're not getting modern cruise ship rooms. We're getting these, practically palatial environments that we get to relax in, right? Even if you take a look at the Millennium Falcon footprint didn't make any sense because the rooms were massive in a ship that wasn't that massive. Like, where was the cargo hold in this ship if, everyone has got these great spaces?
There's a little hook on the bottom of the ship. That's the cargo hold. That's what it does. It's
right. Yeah, right.
Holds
It's
cargo.
cargo hold.
Right. And this is a hotel room this is a hotel that they in theory should have had the space to be able to give somebody a really decent full-sized regular hotel suite room and just dressed it up like you were in a Starcruiser, which I think would have worked a lot better for people.
Yeah, I made mention in this in my comparison video, but I do want to mention it. It's worth mentioning here. I mean, look, the artwork that was put into this thing is worth preserving. There's a lot of dedication here, as you can see, that a lot of detail that I think is absolutely worth keeping. Like this isn't just going to be a total, drop our pants and take a shit on Starcruiser segment. It's
No.
we're real fans here, okay? We do care. We would be excited about this if it was like Luke or Han or even Obi-Wan. Like, give even some prequel or Clone Wars love would go over better. So now we'll get into the price point in a bit, but these accommodations, this room right here, would be perfect on a real cruise liner for a windowless room for the less fortunate fans and passengers. You can do rooms similar like this in bigger fashion for the upper class, for the people that want to have balconies and stuff. But this, if I was on a cruise ship and I spent like, $700-800 for a ticket, this would be awesome. I would be all over this. I'd be so excited to be here. I'd be like, oh yeah, my room doesn't have a real window, but I got a spaceship window, so I can feel like I'm part of the action, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's got a lot of potential, and the ideas here are good, but they really should just build this into the Disney Cruise Line, if I'm being perfectly honest. The other issue that I had with this was, where's the downtime? Like, it's 2 hours of constant LARPing, and if that's what you want, again, I'm not going to pay $6,000 to be forced to go do chores. I mean, this is... It really, the price point is what's really killing it for me, to be honest. It feels like it's bringing a new layer of classism to Star Wars that I think is just going to have detrimental impacts, because people are going to see this and go, oh, well, I guess Star Wars is for the rich people now. And it's like, is that really the image that we want? Now, I'm not saying that you can't have certain activities and stuff to try to appease the more fortunate crowd. You just can't do it like this, where this is blatant elitist isolation right here. There's no option for the poor people, so to speak, to go enjoy this. And that's really my biggest issue with it is, as much as I believe in making your own way, I'm not trying to poo-poo people for having money. That's not the issue. It's, you're making this, my issue is the advertising. If you had isolated this ride and talked about it in isolated channels and networking with people that have, $6,000 pocket change, I probably wouldn't care, probably wouldn't notice. My biggest issue is they are flaunting this so hard and trying to get everybody to see it. And it's like, you're maybe going to attract 20%, if that, of the audience that you're trying to market to. And I think that's really my biggest complaint is, you could set things up. I understand that they need to make money back on this asset. Obviously, a lot of more work went into this. Look at it. Visually, it's good. But visually, so were the sequels also good. So... And then that's the other thing. On top of that, you have a premise that's not exciting. I personally will never watch the sequel trilogy again. So why am I going to try and save $6,000 to go on the LARP boat?
Yeah. I mean, and look, like, I am not saying in any way, shape, or form that it is not entirely possible you could get your $6,000 worth through this adventure. Okay? What
Sorry
I'm
to
saying...
interrupt, we do have a comment in the chat.
Oh, $6,000
for the average person is not entirely possible without a lot of scrimping and saving. Yes, Crazy Koala 3, thank you for your comment. I do agree with that 100%.
I want to take off of Crazy Koala's point. Scrimping and saving are things of the past. Now we're just living paycheck to paycheck, and $6,000 is tax refund, if we're lucky. That's where the poor is at currently.
Yeah, I mean, look, now keep in mind that that's $6,000 for 4 people, right? Typically 2 adults, 2 children. So that would be a family of 4 in theory, right? It's not like you could get 4 of your friends together and try to split the cost somehow, right? Because 2 of those friends are sleeping in kiddie bunk beds then. Or 2 of those friends are sleeping in kiddie bunk beds. So it's not really feasible to do it with like 4 dedicated like LARPers, if you will, right? That being said, it seems like based on the leaked footage that we've received from some of the reviewers on YouTube, I know the leaked footage is out there, but I'm fairly certain we can all agree that for copyright reasons, no one will show it here. But based on the leaked footage we've seen, I mean, the actors are very new to the roles. They're still getting their legs on that. It doesn't look like they got the rehearsal time they need yet. But I mean, that'll come in time. I suspect that you're probably going to see a much better show 2 months from now than you're seeing right now in the previews.
I hope so. Taculus, it sounds like you have some thoughts.
$6,000. Dang, even if you did have that money, like, you could have all of these actors dancing around you. You could have all of this marvelous food, all of this stuff. $6,000, though.
By the way, up on screen, we got my favorite character, the space bum from Key West.
I was going to go with Space D&D Bard, right?
And yes, we won't be showing any unapproved leak footage. This is actually, the footage that's on screen is from CNET. Bridget Carey, you see here, she actually did a good job doing an overview. I definitely recommend checking out her original to get a, it's an enthusiastic look, but people are allowed to enjoy things. I'm not going to poo-poo on someone's good time. If you go to Starcruiser and you thought it was the greatest thing ever, cool, man. Good for you. Please tell us your thoughts about the Starcruiser so we can get more perspective. Me, I see all this. Oh, that was the other thing. They have this cool thing where they make you use your phone, and I'm like, I go on vacation to get away from my phone. I don't want to, again, this doesn't feel like a vacation. This feels like chores.
I go to hotels to hack phones, so...
Exactly.
Well, I mean, look, the thing that I found very interesting, because I was actually looking at the theoretical possibility of going just so that I could review it. And the fact of the matter is they make it quite clear that they do not want anyone using their phones to take unapproved pictures while you're in there. But you have to use your phone to interact with many of the features and to keep your itinerary on the ship. So it's like Schrodinger's cell phone throughout the entire design of this. I don't think it's a bad concept. I just think that they needed... It really felt like the 2 primary designers who were doing this whole thing didn't talk to each other, and that's part of the problem. I'm not saying that it couldn't be great. I'm saying that there's a lot of potential for greatness here. There's a lot of cool things this could do, and a lot of neat tricks the technology that they're using here is using. It's just how it's being applied is leaving us with a lot of questions, right?
I think a lot of... Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I kind of
I was going to say, like, you make custom, unique cocktails specifically for the bar on the Starcruiser, but you charge this much and make people pay premiums for those cocktails? I mean, look, if I'm going on a cruise, I'm getting drunk. I'm getting really drunk. And
you can't get drunk if you're paying $18 per cocktail. I saw that literally in the menu.
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board.
Yeah, like like that's part of the equation here. Now the question becomes: is it these prices? Is it this $6,000 to get for entry plus however much right now, and the price is going to drop once they get the first couple of groups through? Like it's a premium now, but it's going to go down to reasonable shortly after. Or is it always going to be this price? That's the real question.
Yeah, John, it sounds like you had a thought.
Yeah, my biggest thing is I feel like if you're gonna buy everybody's favorite everything, and you're gonna claim to be the proprietor of the most quality film and production and theme parks in all of the history of ever, step one, first principle, know your audience. I don't know which Star Wars fans this one was made for, but it's never appeared in any of the Star Wars ever. It's never been on any of the Star Wars games ever. None of these screens match with anything Star Wars. This is literally just Space Day. You could put this at the Discovery Center and everybody would be like, this is the coolest space simulator I've ever been in, and I loved it for every penny it was worth. But when you put Star Wars on your space simulator and you're a multi-trillion-dollar international conglomerate, I think you deserve to be doo-dooed on when you deliver us doo-doo. Like, you don't know your audience and you failed. Like, own it. Take this message and then actually be better, because you're trillionaires.
I didn't want to turn this in. Yeah, and I didn't want to turn this into a rehash of my compare and contrast video, but you bring up a very solid point that I feel we need to address, and so I'm going to play a clip real quick and address that, so just bear with me.
You're invited to engage your senses, transport your spirit, and boldly go where no one has gone before. The 24th century is coming to the Las Vegas Hilton. Star Trek: The Experience. Feel the excitement as you beam up to the bridge of the Enterprise. Travel through space and time aboard a Starfleet shuttlecraft. And dock at the alien outpost Deep Space Nine for the finest in dining and shopping. Make your plans to be among the first in the galaxy to beam up to 24th century adventure. Star Trek: The Experience. Coming soon to the Las Vegas Hilton.
So, I actually did ride the Star Trek Experience on 3 separate occasions. That's why I made the video that I did doing a compare and contrast. Now, there are some drastic differences. Okay, you don't live on the Enterprise for 3 days, and it's just a quick little 18-minute, this was actually really cool. When they do it, you get beamed aboard, they take you into this room, you think you're going to board a shuttle, and then all of a sudden, the lights flash, it goes completely dark, you feel a bunch of wind, and then all of a sudden you hear the TNG beaming noise, and next thing you know, you're standing on a transporter pad on the Enterprise. It was one of the coolest moments as far as this type of live action LARPing goes, it is still to this day, I will sing praise about it because it is really good. Now, the key that I wanted to bring up, because I don't want to go too much into the compare and contrast, at least if we can help it. Which trailer of the 2 that we watched was more exciting? Carry on.
Oh, clearly the Star Trek Experience.
John?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say,
yeah.
I was going to say the Warp Core Breach, by the way, the Experience was an amazing drink. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you've been too. Awesome. John?
Yeah, Star Trek for sure. I don't know that guy and his family. I don't care for their experience. I have my own family to care about their experience. And when I see the price point, I go, well, I guess we're not that family. Sorry, kid.
Yeah. Matt?
Star Trek, for sure. I'm like pretty randy after that commercial. That was
yeah,
good
and that thing
stuff.
is as old as 1997. So,
yep.
I mean, it just shows the stark difference. And this is the other thing: the Star Trek experience took place on the Enterprise. Okay, not this thing. It took place on a ship that like. Even if they did several, see that Millennium Falcon right there? Okay, build like 20 more of those and have like a little cottage thing. And then you can have them like interact and there's any number of things that you could do. There is nothing iconic about Starcruiser. And that's ultimately why I think it's going to struggle. Even though it's booked out for the next 4 months, yeah, it's booked out because it's played to a certain class of people that literally live on the premise of one-upping each other, okay?
All the people that can book it out did book it out, and everybody else is still going to not book it out.
Well,
Exactly.
actually, if you take a look at the bookings today, there's a fair bit of them now available. It's no longer booked for 4 months solid anymore.
Wow.
Is that because more have become available, or because more people decided that they changed their mind?
Well, that's the real question, right? My suspicion, based on what I was seeing, is that there's been a fair number of cancellations. I've actually got a theory on that. There are some
Please share.
specific products that are only available if you sign up for the Starcruiser. So, for example, if you took a look in the gift shop there was the Twi'lek headband kind of piece. That is only available if you have booked a room for the Starcruiser. So my suspicion is some people booked specifically to get certain pieces of merch and then canceled their bookings just so that they could get that merch. And then
That's
we'll
smart.
presumably sell it on eBay and recoup any lost money that they may have gotten.
It's a pay to stay and pay to play experience.
Yep.
It's like paying for life, paying for fun, and paying to pay for both of those.
It's a Chinese knockoff of Westworld.
Well, there's there's a pretty famous YouTuber that coined the phrase for certain video games, fee to pay game as opposed to free to play.
Fee to pay. There you go.
Right? I feel like this is a fee to pay LARP, really, in some aspects of it, and that's a shame because this could have been so awesome.
Well, see, Corey, I think it's so funny you keep calling it a LARP, but it's made by the only people that for some reason don't understand anything about LARPing. Like, things are cult classics because there's a cult following of people like us behind them. Not because, one day Disney decided it was a classic. Like, Star Wars has been beloved since George Lucas decided to spend his last dollar trying to make the first one. And then he didn't even know where it was going to go. And so that's why, I give credence to it being such a sloppy show in terms of, canon and everything making sense. And it always being, perfectly timed. It's like, you took somebody who took their last-ditch effort at making it rich, and they won, and they were sitting there like, I didn't see that coming. But the fans, they love it all for their own reasons. And it looks like Disney literally just picked the reasons they liked and then made sure that nobody can afford, anybody who actually loves Star Wars probably cannot afford this. And anybody who can afford this probably only saw the new Star Wars because their kids drag them to it. Yeah. So they don't care, period. And that to me it's, again, know your audience. If your audience is getting the most fans through all of these rides, you need your cult followers to go first. Yeah, you should have just held a LARPing competition that then those people get to be the first 4 months to book.
This isn't made for the audience. Now, for the listeners on the podcast, the viewers, I've paused it specifically at the classism within classism. This is the captain's table. For an extra $30, you can sit at the captain's table. Now, Star Trek Experience, near the end of its life, did something stupidly similar, where they created this thing called the Captain's Lounge, where you could pay extra money for you and your buddies to go hang out. And they paved over one of the best parts of the DS9 Promenade to squeeze it in. Star Trek fans, regardless, rich or poor, they don't care for that stuff. Okay, one of the core values of being a Trek fan is that all humans are equal value, and that just doesn't work. So
the main
their
character
credit
of the new trilogy couldn't afford to stay in this frickin' spaceship.
To their new credit here, exactly. To their new credit here,
None of the
they're
stormtroopers
out
either.
in front of all the other not as bourgeois spenders for this thing. So you get to flaunt your extra $30 in front of all these people, and you get exclusive food items. Oh, and the captain comes and talks to you. So you have all these characters that you don't care about or don't even know that you get more interaction with. It's like, thanks. I'm glad I have some, F-list celebrities to get chummy with here.
They could literally just refilm the first scene of A New Hope in here, and we just pick any person from the audience to be Princess Leia, and she has to explain where she put the protocol and everything for the Death Star, because those are the only people that can afford to be on this ship is Princess Leia, and she's dead.
Oh no,
this is
I
my
would say
favorite.
all the casino goers at Canto Bite.
Oh,
from
there we go. There we
Last
go. All the
Jedi
people
could've
that
done
got their shit rated in episode 2 of the new trilogy.
Yeah, my favorite part in all of this. Oh, by the way, spoilers coming up for those watching, if you care. Which I'm assuming if you're watching this review, you probably don't. At least not about being spoiled, because I'm not going on this anytime soon. I'll tell you that much. What I also like too is at the very beginning, the First Order comes on board. If there's one thing that I feel is always missing from my vacation, it's vacationing with fascists from space.
Space cops, dude. That's
I'm sorry. At that
Drink
point,
it.
I'd be demanding a refund. I'd be like, I want to hang out with the bad guys. I'm here to relax. What is this crap?
I'm just like, I'm so glad that like my dad will never be able to go on this, because I am fairly certain, having spent as much time in the military as he has, when a dude points a blaster at his face, the blaster would be in my dad's hands and the guy would be on the floor. And there'd be some Under Siege 2, Under Siege 1 actually, action happening very shortly afterwards.
I mean, he could probably walk up to the guy. He'd miss every shot.
Well, that's true. They are stormtroopers, after all.
I don't know. It sounds like your dad's gonna pull a hitman and just suddenly be wearing a stormtrooper costume.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
Full access.
Oh, man. Matt, now that you've seen some of it, before we get into this amazing fight scene, what do you think? What are some of your thoughts on this now?
I think it's largely just kind of based off of everything that I've seen so far, and a lot of the things that you guys have talked about, like paying $30 for an exclusive menu. That's not going to last. It's $30. If someone has already paid $6,000 to get in, who doesn't have an extra $30 to get to the quote captain's table? All right, take all of these ingredients. This is just me personally. This is the culinary part of me. I love to cook. Take all of those ingredients, mix that in with everything else, because the whole cafeteria might as well be the damn captain's table. And make something really cool. That's just me. Like, who doesn't have 30 extra bucks?
All of your
Having
shows
just
are
lose $6,000 to go do chores.
all of your
Right.
fans are like all of your movies are about being nice to everybody, and the first thing you do when you buy the biggest cult classic in history is you only let your rich friends come.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are the biggest hypocrites ever. Like, and you can't call it anything other than hypocrisy, because they literally write these films and produce these films and produce products that are like, be nice to everyone, poor or rich. Everybody deserves love and respect. Even your gay sister, even your rich angry dad. They deserve love and respect. But only your rich angry dad can afford to come stay at our Star Wars tour.
Mm-hmm.
And carry
He's the
on,
only
Rich
one we
Angry
want to
Dad.
see.
Gary O's rich angry dad's gonna be leaving in handcuffs because some idiot pointed a blaster at him. Like, there's just so much that's just already bad with this right out of the gate, including the best part. This high
my
class choreographed
God.
sword fight. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just watching this right now. This is terrible.
Oh, but
I hate everything about it
dude.
already.
Is he
Just
gonna
like the
lift the
Borg
Millennium
Encounter
Falcon?
Voyager experience, it just gets worse.
I paid $15
Is he gonna
to
lift
see
the X-wing?
like 2 of these movies, and
Oh,
they look
this
better
is my
than
favorite part. I'm gonna replay it because it's worth watching again.
Oh
All
my
right, just
god.
watch real quick.
Oh God!
Lightsaber comes on, but I gotta put it on the floor and swap it out for one I can make contact with.
Yeah, so
Oh,
to give a
God.
little
And
bit
we're
of
not gonna make
context.
contact though. That's the best part.
Now, to give a little bit of context on that original saber, the first one she pulled out, they actually spent a ridiculous amount of R&D money figuring out how to build a lightsaber that, at least in theory, will ignite and be, a quote-unquote real-ish lightsaber in real life. The problem is, if you connect with it, the blade will, it'll just go right through whatever stunt weapon you're using, and it's pretty dangerous as well. So that's why they had to swap it out. But
Save it for the movie.
well, I was gonna say any decent magician they could have brought on would have taught them how to do a better sleight of hand here.
You didn't need magicians. Penn and Teller could probably have come up with a more
Even-
practical solution.
It's a potato, a real potato.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
I
it's
feel
just,
like if you bust into Parker's repertoire of original film choreography and directing, you can find a more accomplished lightsaber duel than this. And that was when we were under 18.
yeah. No, I shot that fan film when I was 16 years old, and yeah, I definitely agree. Our fight scene is way better. Not to toot my own horn, and then
You're
the
not.
captain. This is my
Unfortunately,
favorite
this
part.
is-
She orders
This
the
is
first.
so bad. That was a burn to them.
Yeah,
Your first ever choreographed fight scene whooped this $1 trillion industry.
yeah. That's why Disney wants to crack down on fan films now.
It might be why their money is all fake.
Yeah. Oh, and then we get to watch a light show on a screen. That's our big finale. Save
dude,
money
let's go
on
to
real
Pink Floyd.
fireworks. But these people are taking pictures of a video.
Did they get the warning before taking the photos? You're finally allowed to pull out your phone and take pictures of your experience. Make sure to
these
apply.
these would be reviewers, right? So because they're reviewers, they're told exactly when they're allowed to take out their phone and take a picture, and what to take a picture of, and at what angles are they permitted to take them at.
Here you
I
go,
kid
guys.
you
You
not.
take pictures of our screen now.
I bet you they did a whole calibration thing where they had some sensor on the other side of the screen going, oh, no, yours is at the wrong angle. Camera number 42, please lower. Give it a more
Yep.
tilt. Make the experience better.
Oh my god. So not only
So they
Not
can
only did
choreograph
Disney
their
swindle you out
press
of
release,
$6,000.
but they can't choreograph their fight scene.
Not only did Disney swindle you out of $6,000, but they actually got you to take pictures of a screen with your phone, which I've done before, but I don't do that. It's the reason why, right? When I go to watch a fireworks show, I do take a couple of photos just to have as the memory. I'm not there recording it the whole time. Oh, I'm so excited to watch this through my screen. No, I like to. It's fine to take a few pictures as a reference. So when you go through your phone, you're like, oh yeah, that was a cool fireworks show, and oh, what a great time we had, right? It's fine to take those pictures for the memories. But these people have their phones up the whole time the fireworks show is going off, and it's not even real.
Oh, I know.
You spent $6,000 on a LARP boat, and now you're taking pictures of a digital video screen. What the hell is wrong with you?
No room to sit and enjoy it. You're all just staring, standing, looking linear at a theater screen.
Oh my god. Oh man.
Oh, you know what's ridiculous too? if you take a look, they've got those banners up on either side there, right? If I was, going to be choreographing this at all and I had to ditch out one lightsaber for another, I would have 100% hid the lightsabers behind that...
Between the banners.
Behind the banner. And just have it swap out there, and it would have looked seamless.
Yeah, I would have done this whole like lightsabers turning on, drop my hands down into my post, swap out for the other one.
Yeah.
You can't even see.
Yeah.
No, this
For
is comical.
$6,000 in that scene we just saw a little bit ago, Kylo should have thrown that lightsaber into the audience and be like, one lucky son bitch gets a lightsaber for $6,000.
And, cut in half because it's a lightsaber. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like, you get something.
One lucky fan gets to buy this
it.
lightsaber, even if they catch it, they still have to pay.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like an awkward auction. Oh, you got it. When are you going to pay? Surcharge on your mini bar, $8,000 for our retrofitted lightsaber.
That's like throwing the bouquet into the audience. It's like, I want to be married and paid like $30,000 for a marriage. Yay!
Whoever catches it has to pay for it and my wife's wedding.
Oh, also, if you go back a little bit and take a look at Chewbacca, isn't he a little short to be a Wookiee? Like, take a look. They got short Baka here. Like, look at it. He's the same size as he's shorter than the Stormtrooper.
Is he a short? Is he a short Wookiee or a tall Ewok?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's two Ewoks standing on each other's shoulders.
Guys, let's be honest. We finally found Sasquatch. Disney was able to pay for him to come and be an attraction.
That's right. It's two Ewoks masquerading in a Wookiee suit because they want to get turned.
They couldn't find the trench coat and hat, so they just went with the Wookiee costume.
Correct.
You pull it off, and there's the Ewok underneath, and he's just like, "It's a living."
It's a living.
It turns out it's just two Jawas trying to get everybody's money.
Like, I just want to have a good time. Give it.
They take it off, and it turns out it's a fully taxidermied
What moral
Wookiee.
they give up for? I mean, these are the same people who take pictures of a screen with fireworks on.
So that's.
Well, I don't know if you
Everyone's
noticed.
got their stupid phone out.
There's one person there, like right in the middle of the screen, and she's just checking her messages.
Yeah.
Left, little
Well, what's
left.
this weirdo
little
doing
left.
here? What's he doing? He's watching it
She's
without
just
his
enjoying
phone?
it.
What is this?
Yeah,
This other chick's just checking if she got service.
messaging her boss, and boss is like, "Hey, you getting the video stuff? You got it, boss."
This guy's having the
most
time of
everyone
his
has
life.
their phones out for a digital fireworks show. This is amazing. You know what, Disney? Well played. Good job. You managed to just really win some people over with this one.
I think Pink Floyd's light
I'm
show is
actually
way better than
impressed.
this, TBH.
You know, I feel like a lot of this is just attributed to you have a massive corporation that owns this massive thing, like Star Wars, right? And then this company says, "Oh, you're a smaller company, and you want to do this hotel thing in Las Vegas? Yeah, sure. Why not? We're going to take this much of your money. Go ham, dude." But the folks employed at the smaller company maybe didn't, I don't know, they didn't get the vibe, they didn't get the feeling, they didn't have the experiences that folks who grew up on the entirety of Star Wars grew up with, except episode 1. We can forget about episode 1, but
I think episode 2 sucks more. More on that in a future episode.
More
you
on
and I
that in a
will have
future
a debate
episode.
on that at some point, because I actually
I
think that the
love
prequels,
episode 1.
Yeah.
all right, machete order. I will die on that hill. I am happy to die on the hill of machete order.
Fair enough, but I will say that of the prequels, the one of the prequels I did not like was actually episode 3. I like the first 2.
Now that's an opinion.
Yeah.
That is
So-
interesting. I liked the first and third. I didn't like the second one because it was too Romeo and Juliet for me.
Fair enough. I mean,
Yeah.
look, George Lucas can't write a romance. We know this. That's
We
fine.
knew it from the get. He put a brother and sister together.
Right? But there are things that the second movie does that I feel like are tricks that are used only in that episode, and it makes it worthwhile if you know where to look for them.
And I agree with that about the first one. The first one I felt like had the most chance to create the most diverse universe, and then they killed it with the second one. And the third one was just really pretty.
Okay.
Just fun to watch.
Okay. Again, a debate for another time, but I think, though, the Starcruiser is really the epitome of what I'm going to call the problem with Lucasfilm right now, which is you really have two groups inside Lucasfilm. You have the guys who are, believe in the original trilogy, they believe in Luke and Leia and Han, and they believe even the prequels are decent and set the stage nicely for the next set. And then you have the guys that are like, we have to destroy everything that came before Disney Star Wars and just do whatever we want to do for Star Wars because it's ours now, we own it, we can do whatever we want to it, and anyone who disagrees with us is just wrong. And we'll figure out why they're wrong later. I feel like that's a lot of what they decided to do when it comes to Lucasfilm, and that you've got these two camps. And I feel like the Galactic Starcruiser was really built by like the Disney sequel diehards and kind of ignored the original trilogy guys. And I think this is the end result of that. Right? We've hit peak sequel trilogy nonsense.
It just shows the disconnect. Matt, I'm coming in for you, by the way. It just shows the disconnect between these corporate guys and the anyway, sorry. So I was saying, I think it just shows the disconnect between corporate and the fans. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the whole reason I did my comparison to Star Trek is because it was just it's the same thing. It's bad executive decisions, and that's a lot of the issue that I have with. Oh, my sound changed. Give me a second.
It sure did. I noticed.
My stuff took a crap, so I had to come back in and hot.
Professional studio, guys. Anyway.
There you go.
That's better. All right, so what I was saying was there's a clear disconnect here with the corporations and the fans, and there always seems to have been, because the corporation owners are money, 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 and the fans are like, well, they're the fans, and if you don't treat them with enough respect, they're not going to respect your product. So we see that. I'm still coming through on someone's end. I don't know whose volume's got it up, or I don't think it's through Carry On.
It'd be funny if it was all on yours.
Anyway, what we have is you have a continued disconnect because people, they want to make money. Well, the thing is, with fan projects, you got to think of them like, you got to think of fan stuff like an investment, especially with big properties like this. And you need to think of your fans of as potentially, you got to think of it as like a slow burn, that your returns are going to come back over a long period of time. And that's what ultimately led to Star Trek Experience's failure, was that they were just trying to throw a bunch of stuff in to keep the fans interested, but also to try and make a quick buck turnaround. Well, that's kind of what I see with the Starcruiser. The price point is high because of how much Disney blew making it, and they want to make that money back quickly. And that's the problem, is they're focused on trying to make their money back so fast that they're giving us average Joe fans who, lives typically paycheck to paycheck. That's the problem, is that we can't afford, I don't have $6,000 to just go do this. I wish I did. That's my goal, to be there someday. But even if I was there, I'm not blowing $6,000 on Starcruiser. But a lot of it, as you mentioned, carry on for what I did catch of what you were saying, is that yes, this is part of the corporate disconnect, that we have a problem with the sequel trilogy, because the whole goal of the sequels, as we now know, was to get away from the original Star Wars. And that's, I've heard claims and theories that part of Kathleen Kennedy's plan was so that she didn't have to pay royalties, was to basically create its own Star Wars. Well, here's the problem. No one likes your product. And those that do aren't in the majority of fans. Now we're transitioning to the state of Star Wars. What I would like to
Star
see,
Wars address.
Yeah, what I would have liked to have seen, and what they could still do if they really care, and if they're interested in actually making money, is Disney has the resources to have multiple Star Wars properties going at once. They don't need to be, this idea that they just need to focus resources in one property or another is kind of silly at this point, because you have a divide of fans that actually do like the sequels. They do exist. They are out there. Versus the fans that don't. And for me personally, I would like to see more Knights of the Old Republic take the center stage in Star Wars. You say that you're going to give me a KOTOR TV series that is like 90% accurate to the video game. I'm there. I'm buying that shit. I'm watching it every day. I'm talking about it. I'm enthusiastic. KOTOR, to me, came off as the adult Star Wars, or the one that you could do for the more grown-up fans. So it's okay if you want to do the sequel trilogy stuff. It just seems that KK needs to hang her ego and allow other versions to come out. And yes, it might happen that people might not like what you wanted to do. I understand that. I've been in similar situations like that. I mean, not necessarily big productions, but I've felt those feelings of having to accept that people just don't like what you are doing, and they're not interested, and somebody else's ideas are better. What I have found is that instead of fighting that, it's better to just work with the people who have those superior ideas, and to try to get your own through that, and try to work with them. It's better to work with people than work against them. And that's Disney's biggest disconnect, is that they've been working against fans and not with the fans. You want to do your High Republic stuff, you want to do your Rey and Kylo Ren stuff, that's okay. But it's not going to work out in the long run if you're not going back to this, to the original series, or, like I said, bringing up KOTOR. So that's my suggestion for the state of Star Wars, is give the fans what they want, and you have the resources to give so much. And that just makes the universe all the richer in the long run. Whether or not you like the Acolyte, whether or not you like the sequels, it doesn't matter. It's all Star Wars in the end. And eventually fans will develop a mutual respect for each other, because it's like, okay, I don't like the prequels, but you do. We can have a Star Wars discussion about that. Well, because guess what? I have my favorites. You have your favorites. John has his favorites. Matt has no favorites. So that's how we can have those discussions.
I do want to say something on the state of Star Wars, especially in terms of the overall state when it comes to like what the writers are doing, what the writers are attempting, whether it's the new trilogy, the old trilogy, or the main trilogy. The new trilogy, to me, like, it's more about a shout out to the writers. As a fan and a writer, I am so sick and tired of writers taking other people's ideas and then just creating complete doo-doo, even though thousands of other writers have taken hundreds of thousands of hours to create content for you to read up on, study on, figure out the different intricacies of each different like metal group. Like Mandalorian is a perfect example of a writer who took the time to get to know the audience, get to know the lore, get to know the world, and then they just wrote a bounty hunter movie with a passionate father character. Like, that's what I'm so tired of, is writers are like, no, I really want to write this really cool romance in the Star Wars universe. Do it, but know the Star Wars universe before you start writing. Don't come at the Star Wars universe with your story and then try to overlay it, because the Star Wars universe is already its own super created layers. Like, the amount of people who have made lore for the stuff that George Lucas literally only wrote one movie for. Like, the first A New Hope was Star Wars. That was the whole Star Wars. There were no other wars that happened until the studio came back to George Lucas and said, no, we want 2 and 3. Let's go. And then 2 and 3 came, and then they came back again for 1, 2, and 3. And George Lucas was sitting there as a writer like, I don't know what I'm creating. I created a cult classic, and there's a cult following. But George Lucas, at the very least, tried to respect his cult. And whether he lost to money, whether he lost to pressure from within his studios, whether he lost to pressure from external audiences, it doesn't matter. He lost. But his fans came back. I don't love Star Wars for any of the singular movies. One single movie, it's a good movie. It's fun. I enjoyed it. But I love Star Wars because of all the books I've read about Star Wars. I love all the Lego Star Wars games. I love all of the KOTOR. I love SWOTOR. Like, I love the universe that George Lucas allowed all these other great writers to create within, and then suddenly shut everybody out of. And I think that's where Disney needs to just learn from George Lucas's mistake and open it back up. Give the real writers their chance to respect the universe and create you multi-million-dollar franchises. Because, like, Star Wars, you could literally just make the Tatooine saga. And every single thing that's ever happened on Tatooine is an amazing adventure that I want to observe. Whether it was pod racing or it was the Mandalorian saving a tiny little city. That's what I want to see.
Well,
I just love the universe that was created and given to us. And there are other writers better suited to writing your content. And who cares who your director is if they can respect their writers and their audience? Like, respect your audience. You bought an audience. You're $1 trillion company. There are 0 excuses for failure. You're supposed to be the best of the best. Too big to fail, you failed. Fix yourself. Own it.
And I think after Obi-Wan, we need a nice long break from Tatooine for a few years. But carry on. I know you've got some thoughts. You're gonna have to hold them though.
Oh,
Matt, go ahead.
You know, honestly, I don't have a whole lot of opinions that haven't already been articulated.
Okay. Carry on. You've been passed the torch.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if they wanted to fix the Starcruiser and kind of unite the fans, because there's one thing that the sequel trilogy fans and the original fans, for the most part, agree on, and that's The Mandalorian is fairly good. If they had rethemed the Starcruiser based on The Mandalorian, this wouldn't be as much of a discussion. We'd probably still discuss the price point, but it wouldn't be a divide. It would be okay, well, we all generally agree The Mandalorian is fairly good. Setting it up in, like, the Mandoverse or whatever you want to call it, like that era, probably would have worked. We could have had a floor show where the Mandalorian shoots a bunch of guys and drags them off as bounties or whatever, and, you know, maybe one of them's a stowaway and you're trying to help them, and then the Mando shows up and drags them off, and you could do things with that.
Literally just created Tatooine in one of our plethoras of deserts. And everybody would pay $6,000 to have a Mando actor come into the bar and say, I'm looking for a bounty, and leave.
Yeah, you know, and, like, grab some random alien dude and be like, you know, you can come in warm or cold, right? Like, you know, we all would have, like, fawned over it.
You could have made stone huts in the desert that we already have.
Take it a step further and have the audience be a member of the audience who pays be randomly picked to have that interaction. I mean, that would
you're just being exited out of the bar.
Yeah, I mean, hell, that whole sequence, where the First Order shows up. Hell, you know what would have been amazing? And this would have, like, solved 90% of the problem with the lack of LARP in this LARP, because that's what it feels like. Everybody gets shunted to their rooms. A few minutes later, R2-D2 shows up driving into your room and drops off a couple of blasters, and you've got a laser tag game between you and a bunch of stormtroopers through the halls. I can't think of anyone that wouldn't have been like, this is the best experience ever.
Make a little mini theme park that is literally just desert roads with some desert huts, and you have all of your actors be stormtroopers and everybody else is the aliens. Let your fans buy their costumes on the way in, rent their costumes on the way in, and then suddenly the Mandalorian shows up, does his thing, but all these people are like, oh, we're just visiting this little town. We didn't know we stopped in Tatooine. What the is going on? And that makes it even crazier.
Carry on. I think it came up. I can't remember if you brought it up, but supposedly I think we saw it on Pop Culture Breakdown where the you can't even bring your own costume.
So you actually can.
Okay.
But there are restrictions. So like I guess there's guidelines you have to follow is the best way to put it. So you can bring your own costume, you can make it. But for example, adults can't be wearing a mask that covers their face. So like you couldn't like go in showing up in full Mando armor, for example, right? Which, let's be honest, we're all gentlemen here. That's really what gentlemen want to wear to work. But anyway, right?
I'd wear it at home.
Yeah, right. Like you're sitting around watching TV, full, Beskar armor, right? Yeah. But so like for example that, right? You cannot dress up in an alien costume that would cover your face. So like for example, Twi'lek probably okay, Rodian not so much, right? Or Wookiee not so much. The costume has to make general sense to the world. You could not, for example, PD, you probably couldn't pull off a Princess Leia, right? Yeah, sorry, man.
I was sure I could make this beard into buns, but
yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. But like as an example, right? So those are they're fairly general, they're fairly open guidelines, but here's the trick. You cannot wear those costumes down to Batuu, like into the Galaxy's Edge Park, where, you spend probably about 4 or 5 hours at least a day, right? During this 48-hour excursion. So you'd have to get changed because there's a concern that, you would look like one of the characters if you're an adult. Kids can wear whatever they want, who cares, right? But
unless they're a 6'6", 12-year-old.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, like that weird kid that plays on your son's, that pitches for your son's softball team.
My wife's youngest brother is a 6'6", 16-year-old, and he's been 6'6" for a few years. Just hit a growth spurt real young.
I was gonna say, what are they feeding him?
The cruelty of adulthood comes early for him.
Yeah.
Brondo, it's got what plants crave.
Electrolytes.
Oh, that reminds me. We do need to take a quick second to take a quick note and get a word from our sponsors. We don't have any. All right.
Like and subscribe.
Whoa, Matt, what's going on in your? Are you peeing?
Nope, I am running the sink.
Okay. Sorry, I just got a little scared there. Like, there's other streams that's okay on. We kind of don't want to do that.
I too have run from my sink.
No streaming on stream.
I got you. I'll keep it in mind.
No, it's really sad that they do that, because what's the point of going to a Star Wars LARP if you can't LARP properly?
Right.
And that was my issue with the Voyager experience, was like the crowd is literally just flies on the wall to this overblown, over dramatized situation. And so that's why, without more crowd interaction in these events, that's kind of what you need. So
yeah.
State of Star Wars. All right, we will absolutely be reviewing Obi-Wan. So does anybody have thoughts regarding Obi-Wan coming up?
Do us a favor and don't screw up, because Obi-Wan is one of the most loved characters ever, and if you didn't figure that out while you were writing episode 1 of season 1, well, that's your bad, and I'm going to be vicious. There are certain things where I want to be very nice on this podcast. I will be very nice to first tries. But when you're playing with Star Wars, I'm getting really tired of that being the excuse. Because it's the most expensive, one of the most expensive companies or IPs to date. But George Lucas, an independent individual, was smart enough to maintain individual merchandising rights, and he literally created a classic. Like, I say cult classic, and that more refers to The Matrix than compared to Star Wars. The Matrix did a trilogy with a cult classic following. Star Wars has done a saga. They have 9 films. Stop pretending like you can get away with, oh, I didn't know what the fans want. Because A, all of us are on social media. So how about you read the comments? Because we hate your films. And not for just whatever reason you assume. Don't stop taking the statistical data of our comments. Whether those comments are negative or positive, take all of them and start reading all of them, because you deserve it. You deserve to read the hate. You deserve to suffer in silence and then come out swinging with a quality series. Because Mandalorian was a quality series, and everything after Mandalorian and before Mandalorian has been shoddy since Disney bought it. And you're a $1 trillion organization, Disney. How about you act like it?
Well, I will say this. We know Disney can do a movie well. Rogue One was actually
100%.
really solid. Like, Rogue One was good. I have no... Like, yeah, there are little nitpicky things about Rogue One, but overall, it was good and it felt like Star Wars.
Oh,
Toy
I'm
Story has
looking
brought me
forward
to
this
tears
Star Wars debate,
every
'cause
time
did
I
not like
rewatch
Rogue
it.
One, but man, this is gonna be. We already got a good episode. I think we're gonna have to do a special stream on May the 4th for that, because that would be a perfect time to come talk Star
dude.
Wars again, and we can all
That would
argue.
be a
and that'll
long
very
one.
lively
Yeah, I would love to
discussion.
do a very,
But
very
I will admit, as a quality
Star Wars.
wise, Rogue One was definitely up there, and I do respect the fact that people liked it. Me, I was in the Solo camp, so go ahead, fling your mud.
No.
Look,
I will say this. There were elements of Solo I liked.
right.
My problem was they didn't gel well. So, like,
And-
individual scenes were good. When you put it all together, it fell apart.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and pencil in, everybody. May the 4th, it'll be a Wednesday, so it'll be day before our normal show. We're going to do a special Star Wars live stream. Just keep that in the back of your mind, because this is already going to be a good discussion. Nobody agrees, which is great.
Get
That's
me in
what
on that.
else, disagreeing. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, get me in on that.
Oh, yeah, no.
I have a lot of opinions.
We can, it's not going to be we'll make that a full-on special, we'll go for hours arguing about Star Wars, and that'll, that I think will be a lot of fun. But as much as I do love talking about Star Wars, we are coming up against the clock here. And so, Matt, why don't you give us your first impressions of Elden Ring?
Elden Ring. Okay, great. So, it's Dark Souls. It's Dark Souls, but as everyone has already kind of figured out, it's an open world Dark Souls, which means you can make your own freedom. You can pace yourself through the entire game, figure out pretty much when you think you can handle a boss. And because you have that safety net, honestly, the game is both difficult in the ways that Dark Souls games have traditionally been really difficult, but accommodates other players' desire to just explore. It's wildly different, but it doesn't feel different from a Dark Souls game. You just have so much more safety.
So real quick, I'll just explain the footage we're watching. This is some of the streaming footage from our friends over at Super Gamecraft. They were kind enough to hook us up with this clip, so it'll just be playing in the background. I haven't watched every single second of this, so if some stuff pops up, you've been warned. Now they're usually good about keeping it fairly clean. John, you've been playing some. What are your thoughts?
To be honest, this is the only game this year, besides Forza 5, that has taken over my mind when I'm not playing. I 100% love this game. And I love this game for a myriad of reasons, but the most important one is that it's the most up-to-date version of Skyrim that I've played. I love open world games. I love games where it's like, get out there and figure it out. And I've played the only Dark Souls trilogy or series game I've played, from software game I should say, that I've played is Sekiro, the Japanese one. And that one, I haven't gotten past like maybe 45 minutes into the main story, and I have like over 8 hours of gameplay into that one. This one I have like almost 100 hours in the week that I've had it, and I have accidentally completed some major story missions, and I love that. Like, I started watching a lot of these guide videos throughout the week trying to figure out, am I doing this right? And I wasn't. I was not. All of the guides told me how wrong I was. But at the same time, some of them were like, all right, if you get to this boss, you're getting pretty far along the story. And if you can fight him and win, you're doing real good. And I was like, oh, I beat that guy like 2 hours ago. So that's what makes this game so much fun to me, is like, yeah, technically there's a storyline going on, but the writers, whether or not they cared, like, they just stopped caring about the player's care. Like, whether the player cares about the story, they were like, we're going to write one. You can experience it and learn what's going on, or you can just dink around with a sword and the shield and learn how to fight everything. And that's all I've been doing, because I couldn't figure out how the story works, because I play most of my games on, like, without audio at all, and I don't read the text bubbles. So, like, I'm literally just there to be the guy with the sword. And this game 100% satisfies. It's hard, but it legit feels like a workout. I went to show my friends how hard this game is, and I had showed them one of the bosses that had killed me like 18 times since I started playing. And then I won on my first try, trying to demonstrate that this boss was going to whoop my butt. And I lost. And I won, I won in going in fully thinking I was going to lose. And that's what this game gives you. It's like, you may think you're not getting better, and then suddenly you can kill everything and in an area. And then you have to go learn how to kill everything in another area. And it's like, oh, I have so many hours of chances to get better. It's worth it. It's a great game. I love it. I could keep rambling forever.
Carry on. Were you able to pick up a copy of Elden Ring?
Yeah, I actually was over at a friend's place last night, and we started it up. It was originally described to me of, what if Dark Souls had a plot? But really, my whole feeling on it was more along the lines of, take, a Game of Thrones book, a copy of Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and like a copy of Monster Hunter, put them in a hotel room with a lot of booze, and 9 months later, this would be the love child that erupts from it. Because I didn't really play any of the Dark Souls before now. I knew all the get good lines, but I played Monster Hunter on like the most challenging hunts I could possibly take. And that game is all like, it's all boss fights one after another, and you either get good or you get squished. So I got into this and I was like, okay, this is how I dodge. This is how I roll. This is how I can get in and stab and whatnot. And I was able to pick it up fairly quickly and not be terrible at it. But the learning curve on this is really just get good or get dead. That's really what it boils down to for that. That being said, it's not that bad to get good if you're willing to put in the time. And if you're patient and you watch what a monster does, you can predict what it's going to go to do and be ready for it. All right. So in that regard, I mean, if you're patient and you're observant, it's not that terrible to play. I liked the parts of the plot I got to experience. I really thought it was building to something, but then of course I thought Game of Thrones was building to something. So, maybe I'm just a sucker for George R. R. Martin's first 10 chapters. I think this is something that could be a very good classic going forward. I'm just one of the reviews I read that I thought was very poignant was the reviewer basically said, I don't think I'm going to be able to play this game for like 5 or 6 months until there's really definitive guides for it. And I think that might be an assessment of a lot of people who are not really in the, I want to spend like 6 to 12 hours getting horribly mangled so that the next time I run through this game, I can do good.
Yeah. My understanding with the original idea of the Dark Souls game, and I haven't actually played any of them, so I know my credibility's in the toilet now. However, I'm all about promoting good stuff here on this channel, so that's why we're talking about it. My understanding was that the Dark Souls game was originally conceived with the idea of doing all this fantasy stuff like Skyrim and whatnot, but trying to make it hyper-realistic. And that's a lot of times why people die a lot, is because your focus isn't so much, okay, this is just hard for the sake of hard. No, it's hard because they're trying to break the video game tropes of, like Call of Duty. Oh, I've been shot with a machine gun 1,000 times. Let me just crouch here for a couple seconds. Oh, I'm good, just like in real life. No, instead they wanted to have like your dragon fights and your fights actually matter and raise the stakes instead of being a Rambo type that just goes in there with a machine gun and blows everyone away. Not saying that those games are bad. There's certainly a place and time for those. It's just not every game has to have you being this invincible badass that kills everything. And it seems to me that the accomplishment in of itself, overcoming the mechanics of the game, is a worthwhile endeavor, at least what I've observed. So anyone have any thoughts on that, on the difficulty, or what you feel with the gameplay as far as realism?
I think it's very, very much essential that like any new players recognize that this is a Dark Souls game, and you don't necessarily have to play them. Like I said, I played only Sekiro, and I barely got into that one. And the only reason I barely got into it is because Dark Souls games are really hard. But yeah, I think it's exactly like what you said. It's about it being not necessarily realistic to real life, because I don't know if you're paying attention to this fight that's been going on in this video, but that knight that he is fighting, that's one that's killed me this same many times. Like, it's not necessarily that you're fighting realistic enemies, but it's definitely like you're a realistic person in this world. And you have to get to know this world to get good against this world. Like, if you notice, this player has changed his approach to starting the fight with this character every time. And I think that's what makes this game so much fun, is it takes a lot of the old video game tropes that we used to like think existed, where like you would fight an AI character and you could eventually outsmart them. But then some AIs were playing on such random software that like nobody could outsmart them because they couldn't outsmart them. But in this case, this game really feels like it gives you the time to memorize your opponent, even though you died 800 times. You get to memorize your opponent's moveset, and you get to finally get that W. Even if it's just killing one of the random knights that are hanging out in the first castle that you have to go. Like the whole game, like this player that we're watching is literally on the same castle that I'm on, killing the same character that I've been killing a couple hundred times just to XP farm him. Because like, no matter how good you get according to the game in the progression metrics, that doesn't mean you learned how to fight. And that's really what makes this game fun, is that you have to learn how to fight according to this game. And in real life, you have to learn how to fight according to your opponent. And that's really what this game keeps telling you, is like, your opponent is different. Every opponent, based on their garb, is gonna fight different. and you have to approach it differently. And that to me is why any newcomer can spend 12 hours enjoying themselves, because like they can just run away. And I definitely did. I've run away from so many fights. I'll be like, oh look, there's 3 people here, I'm out. I'm gonna go find one guy and 800 cows to kill. Like, it's really fun in that regard. You can just leave, and yeah, you might lose your XP, you might lose your money, but it's actually really easy to XP farm. So like, to just let that be any kind of like honestly, this is the first old school game with realistic and real modern level design. Like, you get to run through these checkpoints, but you also get to mess up just like it took you 800 tries to get past the first checkpoint in any old school game that it would take you to get to the checkpoint. And I think that makes it so much more fun. I love this game.
Matt, any additional thoughts?
Oh yeah. Well, I got a bunch of thoughts about this game.
Can you condense them to 4 minutes?
I probably can.
All right.
There's always an opportunity to feel safe wherever you're going. You can look at all of the incredible challenges that you have to face in front of you, and this game is going to make you aware that you're about to get your shit pushed in. So you can always back out. There's always safety. It's the first Dark Souls game where you can be challenged, but at the same time approach those challenges at your leisure. Or you could just wander off and find new challenges. There are, oh my god, there is so much area to explore. Just in the initial map that most people display when they're streaming, there's so much more. There's a lot of game here. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a difficult adventure, but the great thing about it being an open world game and as slowly paced as it is, this is the first From Software game where you don't have to feel aggravated about losing, right? Like, you can just look at these things and be like, nah, I can level up, bye. I'm gonna go level up. I'll see you in 2 minutes. It's not bad, but having that there doesn't make the game any less difficult. You will struggle through this game, but you will struggle through your own pace. Instead of being pigeonholed into like one specific area where it's like, well, I can't progress through the game unless I kill this particular boss. You can just do whatever you want. It's great. You could pick the days you want to do the boss.
Yeah. I mean,
And
what was
you can still find new things. That is amazing. You can still find new things you haven't seen. Little caves and crevices and little portals that you haven't found before. You can find those. I have found so many.
Well,
Nice.
I think the axiom for this game harkens back to one of the really old school video games that I remember, which is the axiom was, revenge is a dish that is always best served 30 levels later.
That's exactly this game.
Oh god, that's
Just highlighting
great.
Rinchar in the chat. You can make the game roughly as hard as you want, basically. And then apparently, whatever idiot set up this stream didn't spell it right. So to make sure we get that corrected next time. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts on everything tonight. we're going to go ahead and shift towards our closing argument, or excuse me, thoughts. And any plans for the weekend? Matt, what are you doing this weekend?
Literally nothing.
Nothing is something. Good for you. What about you, John?
It's the best kind of weekend.
Oh, I'm Elden Ring all day, man. I love this game so much. I work in games, and this game makes me want to keep working. Like, I wish I worked on this game so that I could then buy this game and start over. This is so fun.
And carry on. What about you? Weekend plans, games, books, anything?
Yeah, weekend plans. I am grabbing a bunch of 10-year-olds and taking them to a trampoline park for this weekend for my daughter's birthday. So I'm going to be nice and busy. And after that, I'm thinking on Sunday, I'm going to go watch The Batman so I can give a good review on Pop Culture Breakdown.
Yeah, I do want to try and make it to the Batman myself. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, I definitely I've heard some early reviews from various critical drinker groups that seem to suggest that it's kind of like the animated series brought to life, but then also sort of enhanced for the adults that grew up on it. And so I'm very excited to see what it looks like. Probably not going to be anything like the last one.
That being said, bring your
chat that I can't see.
Oh yeah.
So just a nightmare all Saturday.
Nah, you know what? I love my kids. I love my daughter. Her friends are actually pretty cool. And they're usually fairly well behaved, so I'm not too worried.
Okay. No. Nothing wrong with that. And the animated series brought to life. Stop! I can get so hard. Yeah. No, I agree. It definitely sounds very, very cool, and I myself am looking forward to hopefully getting around to it so we can possibly review it next week. For myself, though, I'm going to be starting a new job. Going to be working for my wife, delivering pizzas. Never thought that would happen, but lo and behold, the opportunities presented itself to make a little extra money. I was not going to be doing full-time work. I'm over that 40-hour nonsense, but I make a few extra bucks on the side. And also, when I'm not working, this is probably to come as a shock, I'm going to be playing a lot of Lost Ark. I think our game segment next week is probably going to have to be revisiting it, because even though I told people who like transmog should stay away, I didn't go away. I couldn't stop playing it, so I definitely want to go over that again. And
you got to justify that.
So first of all, it's the most alt-friendly MMO on the market. I will say that with absolute affirmation. Even though I've only played WoW a little bit, and my primary MMOs were Star Trek Online and SWTOR, I still put a lot of hours into both those games respectively. And what I can say is that it's definitely a very alt character friendly. It's not even necessarily friendly. It's kind of designed that you need to have extra characters. But what's cool is they give you the power pass to power level a character. They give you 2 of those for free. So it's, yeah, we'll have to get more in depth in that next week, but I'm very much enjoying it. I think it's probably going to become one of my main MMOs after all. And it's honestly, it's an unexpected win for me on that regard. It never really was my type of game to begin with, but this is why you got to try new things in life. You can't just settle on what's comfortable all the time. It's better to broaden your horizons and try different games that you normally wouldn't. So I'm very excited to continue to play and just enjoy it, and probably go over it next week. Otherwise, yeah, not much else going on for me. And got to get into Reacher this week, so that way we can have a book segment next week as well. Anyone else got any more final thoughts real quick? Last 30 seconds.
Obligatory like and subscribe.
Yes, obligatory like and subscribe. We need to do that more often and in the middle of the stream.
I tried.
But anyone can say it at any time. Like,
yeah.
You want to help us get subscribers, that's fine.
If you want a chance to throw in a rage, the rage that we prefer is obligatory like and subscribe rage.
Yeah.
To our fans, to our audience, thank you for coming. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to our
Yes,
guests.
thank you everyone who tuned in, and of course, if you're listening to this on the podcast, we broadcast live 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern every Thursday night. So if you want to join the live discussion, we'll be simulcast on YouTube and Twitch, whichever platform works for you.
And we are finally streaming on Spotify for those.
Got another comment in the
later
chat. I don't know what
listeners.
it says. Oh, it's a bot. Cool. We'll ban you later.
Bye, my
but
robots.
with all of that said, I'm Petey York with the Ryder Brothers reminding you, don't be a dick.
Salutations.